Wicka, 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 boop, 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 boop.
Clockwork Orange.
Plot summary. Meet Alex. He's a very hip young kid who uses cool kid words like yeet and high key, but doesn't actually use those words. He says stuff like eggy weg and droog. Being a 15-year-old boy, he likes to hang out with his friends and do 15-year-old things, like rape women in front of their husbands, listen to music, and have gang wars. His post-corrective advisor guy, PR Deltoid, tells him that he should, and I quote, like not, to which Alex says, whatever bro, you're not my dad. He then hangs out with his droogs and they go kill some cat lady or whatever SparkNote said. His friends thought he was really thirsty or something about not letting them have a say in things and being controlling, so they hit him on the head with some milk and told him, whatever bro, you're not my dad. The cops were then like, hey man, you dropped some milk. Hey, wait, aren't you that guy that killed someone? Dude, can I get your autograph? Also, you're going to jail. So he goes to jail and PR is all up in his business like, yo, I told you so, and Alex officially declares sad boy hours. Alex heard some guy talking about some way to get out of jail in 2 weeks, so he put it on his Christmas list, and even though it wasn't Christmas, Santa pulled through and he got in the program. They showed him people dying and stuff and gave him drugs, and then he got physically sick when he saw violence. Yay, he won't do violence, cured. So he went back to the street and was chilling, but his old droogs who were cops now were like, hey there, yeet, and straight up beat him up. He was all beat up and went to some dude's house who was like, yo, sorry man, cops are kind of bunk. Hey, wait, aren't you that guy that raped my wife? I'm gonna kill you. But then some random political organization was like, nah fam, he's ours, get your own. So he chills with the political people, but they just force him to jump out a window to prove that the cool movies in jail are major lame, and like don't even work at all since he didn't actually have free will. So he's chilling in the hospital because he didn't die from the window thingy, and some mysterious dude comes up with a book and is like, see, killing is pretty cool. And Alex was like, hold up, you might have just done something there. So then he goes back to the outside world, but sees all his friends grown up and is like, that's what I'm supposed to do. So then he grows up and stuff and stops killing people. Outside critical review. Aw man, this book is pretty cool. The neat review says that all teenagers should read this book, but it didn't really say why, which is kinda sus. Anyway, the book can be a little violent, people like die and stuff, but if someone named Peace Love Books can get through it, so can you. Even though the violence could be pretty intense, it was more disturbing that Alex and his friends were completely apathetic toward their victims. Their actions seemed to come from a sense of teenage boredom rather than anything else. So they probably weren't in Xbox with all that free time. Another reason the violence was bearable was because you were distracted by trying to understand the whack wannabe Shakespearean language sprinkled throughout the whole book. Hip as heck Alex speaks in a mega cool language by teens for teens called Nadsat, which makes everything hard to understand at first. No definitions are given, and it's up to context clues and reading enough to understand what the words mean. Anthony Burgess, who my phone just now informed me wrote this book, definitely was on something when he wrote the book because he was all, the government man and like free will man, but I guess he brings up a pretty good point. Through a moral philosophical lens, the book questions the morality of taking someone's free will away from them to force them to be some lame old goody two-shoes and wonders if it's actually better for society. This is where the name of the book, A Clockwork Orange, comes from, taking something organic, people or oranges, and making them more mechanical, like a robot or clockwork. The group taking Alex's free will is none other than the big bad government, which makes you wonder if it's okay for the government to brainwash people and take their freedom if it makes them good beans. Analysis. Okay, so get this. Motifs are recurring ideas which are pretty common in all forms of music, but especially classical music, like this. They're pretty cool and are often used to represent an idea or a character in a story. It's like how if you hear, you think of Darth Vader. The even cooler thing is that motifs can change over time and be used in different ways to communicate different ideas. If you play Hero's theme triumphantly, they're saving the day. If it's a sad dirge, they dead. Motifs can help in storytelling to express something by showing it instead of explicitly saying it, or by using something we are already familiar with because we already saw it before. By understanding how motifs evolve over time, we can understand how the story evolves over time. Okay, now here's the tea. In Clockwork Orange, classical music itself is a motif. Alex is not only hip, but the biggest loser of all time, because he actually listens to classical music, like not even when taking a vocab test, it's like for fun. In this book, when you hear classical music, it means violence. Listening to music, think about violence. Listening to music, committing statutory rape. Killing a cat lady, for some reason there's a statue of Beethoven. And just like motifs change or evolve in music, they change in the book too. The government was blasting some 18th century slappers along with Alex's gross movies. Now that the government's in control of the music, they're in control of the violence. Now every time Alex hears boring music, he wants to get sick because it reminds him of violence. The idea goes even further, and Alex gets a taste of his own medicine when the random political organization plays classical music on loop with Alex locked in a room. He was not having it, so he jumped out the window. Throughout the book, classical music is transformed from something that's connected to Alex doing violence to being something connected to violence happening to Alex. Review/evaluation. This book is not for everyone because it's kind of yucky sometimes. It's definitely for an older audience that can not only handle said yucky stuff, but also understand and think about the dialogue it's trying to create. It brings up some good questions that should definitely start floating around in people's brains, but there's a lot less violent ways to talk about it, so it's good where it is as an optional book. The fact that Burgess made his own language is kind of a big flex. He used some wordplay and Slavic words to create it, and it's pretty sweet. It definitely made the book pretty fun to read because it was almost like a puzzle sometimes when you didn't understand what a word meant until you read one sentence and you're like, oh, of course. What a stupid head I am. Kravi means blood. How could I be so small-brained? Because the story is told in first person, the word choice and writing style also does a really good job at building the character of Alex and creates a believable person. Thank you for listening.